It really takes community investment if we're going to have a place for every child in our public schools and a path for every learner to meet all the individual needs of all of our students. It takes that community support. Our board unanimously placed 2 items on the ballot here for you to consider on November 6th. So an authorization for a 6-year bond program, and then also a renewal of the current override that's currently in place. I'm going to talk about the bond first, and so I want to just give you a little bit of overview about capital funding for schools. And so you may have heard that in the state of Arizona, schools aren't fully funded and in many ways are underfunded. And so this is a chart that I think helps tell that story around the capital funding that public schools are receiving and FUSD has received from the state. In 2007, FUSD would receive about $7 million a year to support those capital needs. That would help us, fix a few roofs when we needed to, buy equipment, curriculum materials on a regular cycle, and have a good, healthy cycle for replacing buses when they were racking up those miles. You can see this graph kind of tails off, and last year in fiscal year 18, FUSD received $600,000 in capital funding. So we went from $7 million in 2007 to $600,000 last year. In 2006, you authorized a $53 million bond program. And in 2012, the most recent one, like $28.7 million, that was authorized by the local voters. And that has helped us bridge that gap as we've seen a reduction in state funding. We have a bond program, a $75 million bond program on this year's ballot. It's funded through property taxes, and it can be used for those capital items. The average additional taxes for this new bond program that we're asking our voters to consider would be $41.94 per $100,000 of assessed value, $100,000 of assessed valuation for property owners. All right, let's switch gears, I think. So I want to now talk about maintenance and operations funding. So this is the funds that support things that are kind of like year to year. So that's your staff, for their salaries and their benefits. It's your supplies that paper and supplies that you go through and exhaust in a year, and then utility costs. And so the funding that we receive is from the state, and the state has a complex formula, but it's mainly based on the number of students that you serve. So the state has a formula, and based on your student enrollment, you get spending authority. And so you can see this is fiscal year 2017. We're still closing out the books on fiscal year 2018, but FUSD's annual operations budget is about $62 million a year. And like I said, 82% of those dollars are spent on people who live and work in this community. They're your teachers, your paraprofessionals, your bus drivers, your administrators. All the people that FUSD employ are supported with these maintenance and operations dollars. An override also requires voter approval. It's a secondary property tax. And what it allows us to do is increase that maintenance and operations budget, that spending authority, by an additional 15%. And an override is funded fully for 5 years, and then it phases out it's reduced by a third in year 6, another third in year 7, and by year 8, if your community hasn't renewed that override, then those dollars are gone. And so we currently have a maintenance and operations override in place here in Flagstaff, and our governing board, we are asking you to consider a renewal of that. It is not an increase of property taxes, it just maintains those current taxes that you have authorized in the past. So an override, like I said, allows us to increase our spending authority and allows us to support the programs and services that our community values, our staff know are good for kids, but aren't fully mandated or funded by the state.